episode of the Six Figure Vet podcast, where we showcase the success stories of Black and Brown veterans who have successfully unlaced the boots. Now today we've got a guest whose mission and story are as inspiring as they come. Let me introduce you to a true powerhouse. She's a 25-year-old Navy veteran, a dedicated mother, wife, sister, and friend. But that ain't all, okay? She's also a fellow podcaster on a mission to create a community like no other. One where women and young girls can come together in a safe space for genuine connections, empowerment, and networking. Her drive to foster sisterhood and support doesn't just stop with her podcast. It's woven into everything she does. From the resiliency she's built in the Navy to the love she's poured into her family, she's setting a standard for what it means to lead with purpose and passion. Let's give a warm six-figure welcome to Miss Jenel, y'all.
Girl, you did that, okay? You ate that right on up. Hello, that's me.
Crumbs,
Yeah.
What are they?
I can't see them. Listen, thank you so much. I really appreciate that. And yes, I'm excited to be here. I'm looking at you like, listen, we on the way.
We on the way.
On the way.
Okay?
Come on now.
Come on. Now, Miss Jenel, I always like to start off each and every episode with a mental health check-in. So tell us how you doing and don't give me a generic answer.
Ooh, mental health. Let me say it's not 100%.
Okay.
But I'm okay. And I'm still figuring it out. You know, I just got out in January.
Yes.
The top of this year. So that transition
very fresh.
is still very fresh. So it's still kind of like I'm still in that early phase of the transition. It still hasn't wore off yet. Like it hasn't really, you know what I'm saying? I know
exactly what you're saying.
Okay.
And every veteran listening to this podcast understand what you're saying. There is a piece. I don't know how to describe it. I don't know how to describe it, but every veteran I have ever talked to, including myself, like you go through this phase of, I don't want to call it depression, but you just don't feel like yourself. I feel like it's like maybe like a smidge of identity crisis because you've been this person for years and now you're not.
Yeah.
So figuring out your footing in the civilian world is not an easy task.
It's not easy. Listen, you know what's crazy to speak on that? When I was checking out of my command, when I was getting out, I went to go check out like the travel, the little travel cars, and there was a guy there. He was a retired chief, and he was like, "One thing I'm gonna tell you: when you get out, seek therapy."
Yeah.
And I was like, it didn't hit me, right? I was just kind of like, okay, cool. He just giving me a little gem. Because in my mind, I'm like, bro, I'm out. Like, I don't even care.
I'm happy now.
Right.
Told me that a year ago.
Listen. So that's what he said to me. And it's just now hitting me. Like, the moment I landed, as soon as I got out, I came back home, Florida, Broward County, where I left. I started crying as soon as I got in the car.
Really?
My mom picked me up and the tears just start rolling. Like, that's when I was like, wait a minute, what did I just do? Like, I just brought myself back here. Why? Right? Like, I'm thinking like, why? Why did I do this? What am I going to do now? Like, that check, my last check coming. What I'm about to do? So, yeah, the transition is not easy. And I feel like I definitely went through real depression.
Yeah.
Like, real depression. I gained 20 pounds in 4 months after I got out.
That's a thing. It's a thing. And you know what? I love your transparency because I think that we need to normalize what happens when we get out the military, especially for Black veterans, because we already struggle with being honest when we're suffering from mental health issues. We already struggle. So you take that and then you take the automatic anxiety, depression, PTSD, unpacking suppressed feelings, unpacking oppression that we've experienced in the military. And now you don't want to talk about it.
Oh,
now you want to say you okay?
No, baby, you're not okay.
No, you're not. And it's okay because admitting it at least opens the door to healing it.
Yep. Yeah.
at least. So to get into a little bit of your backstory, you're from Broward County, Florida. I don't want to sound slow because they be coming for my neck. My friends would be in my inbox like, "Girl, so what is that?"
Basically, I'll say
Okay.
basically. Well, listen. Oh, wait. No, the people in Miami and Broward, they're gonna be mad when I say basically. It's different, but they right next door. You
Okay.
know, right next door. So yeah, if you don't know nothing about Florida, closest to it, you gonna know Miami, Broward, right there. Like they.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So what was it like growing up in Broward County? What was Jenel like before the military?
So let me go back.
Okay, let's go
Okay,
back.
so I was born in New York.
Okay.
I was born in the Bronx. Didn't live there long. I was a little baby, like a newborn. All my life, I've moved to different states. So I say that I'm from Florida and I'm from Broward because that's where I spent the most time.
Okay.
And, I always struggle with that because I feel like, where do I belong? Where do I fit in? Where do I say I'm from? Do I say I'm from New York? Do I say I'm from the Bronx? I don't got the accent. I don't
Yeah.
know my family that's out there. But here in Florida is where I spent most of my time. Growing up, I don't know. It's so many different layers because, like I said, I moved around so much. Like I
Yeah.
lived in Kentucky, where I went to all white schools for a period of my life. Then I came to Broward at seventh gradish, and that's where
Okay.
it hit me. Like it's different out here. Like
Yeah.
people black. It ain't no
Yeah.
all white school.
Yeah.
So when I first got here, I didn't realize, like, hold on, I'm being low key bullied, right? People low key making fun of me because I'm coming from where it's all white school, where people don't care about what you wearing. People don't care about what kind of phone you got, what kind of glasses you got. I came down here, it's like you got to move a little different.
She got
So
on Reeboks.
she got a Reeboks, rebrand. So that's a little bit of what happened when I got down here. It was different. People would be like, "Oh, she you the white girl." And
Yeah.
I was, because again, I went to all white school for a long period of time, really. So I don't know. When you say how was life growing up, I experienced a lot of different things. Like I'm not cookie cutter. I
Yeah.
come from food stamps. I come from Section 8.
Yeah.
So that's where I was running from when I even went
Mm.
into the military, because I'm looking around at my family and there was only like one example of success. And guess what? He went to the army. He retired from the army.
Military.
So I was thinking once I got to high school about 10th grade, I knew I was going to go to the military. Because
Okay.
that's what I saw as success. Look at my uncle. Like that's
Yeah.
success. So that's what I did.
So where did the Navy come from?
Okay. So when I went to the army, they had all the recruiting stations right next door.
Yeah.
Right. So
That's
I'm like,
usually how it
okay,
goes. Yep.
let me check out the rest of them. First, it was like the Air Force because my uncle who was in the army told me go to the Air Force.
Like they all do.
So
Yep.
when I checked out the Air Force, they're like, 6 months. 6 months. I don't got time. That type of time. I'm ready to go.
Yep.
So then I go to the Navy and sit down. They're like, well, what do you want to be? At the time, I was like, I want to be a nurse.
Of course.
Girl, you already know. You already know. So he was like, well, I got the perfect job for you. You gonna basically be a nurse. And they sold me with that. So that's how I got in the Navy. I was a corpsman.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So you're in the Navy. Were you ever on a ship?
I went on the ship, but it wasn't a real deployment. I was on a ship for about like 3 months.
Okay.
And I'm
3
thankful.
months. Yeah. Trust me, child. I did 3 deployments and they was all ghettos. 0 out of 10 would not recommend. Well, okay, they weren't that bad. The people I was on deployment with was pretty cool. Would I volunteer to do it again? No.
Listen, I can't even imagine when the people who did the deployments and all that, because that 3 months I was on the ship, I was like, ain't no way. And they was talking about that was luxury because I was on the Mercy. So they like, this is a luxury ship.
You were
this
on
is
the
nice.
Mercy. Yeah.
I was on the Mercy. So they were like, this is a nice ship. This is luxury. And I'm looking like, if this is luxury, I don't even want to see nothing else.
Girl, go to an aircraft carrier. I think that's where my PTSD came from. Child, it was ghetto. So when you decided to when you went in, did you know that you were just going to do 4 years, or were you like, okay, I'm going in with the intentions to retire like my uncle so I can get this bag and I could be successful? Like, what was your mindset going in?
Master Chief. Baby, when I got in, I said I'm going all the way.
Girl. So let's bring it back to reality. How many years did you end up doing, Jenel?
5.
20 years short.
Yes, girl.
So what made you be like, okay, I don't think I'm a lifer. I think it's time for me to transition out. What made you pivot?
What made me pivot is I just wanted more. I couldn't see it anymore. Like I felt like I was like boxed in. And I'm one of those people where if I'm doing one thing, I have to do that one thing.
Yeah.
Like I really believe in focus. Follow one course until successful. So I'm like, okay, am I going to follow this course in the military? And everybody says, well, it's only 20 years. And when you get out, you can still do this or do that. And I'm thinking, well, I could be using that 20 years to build what it is that I really want to do.
Yeah.
You know,
and people kill me with it's only 5 more years. It's only 10 more years. Like, that's a bid. Do you know how much can happen in 20 years?
Right.
I can have a baby. They can start driving, go to college, and finish their first 2 years in 20 years.
Yeah.
Like,
and people say that a lot.
They
say that a lot.
They do, and they say it, and most of the time it's coming from people that ain't did 2 years in the military. So what was your biggest challenge like during your transitioning from military to civilian life? Like, what was the biggest challenge you faced? Of course, you know, the challenge of being out and realizing, oh crap, I really jumped. But did you face any challenges during your transition phase?
Whew. I feel like I faced a couple. Like, number one, coming back home and realizing I don't relate the way I used to relate to certain people or people I used to know, friends, even family. Because I left as a teenager. I came back as a mom, a wife, you know, and I've always been, you know, very mature.
Yeah.
But even more mature now when I'm coming back. So I faced that. And then even just people, civilians, because when you're in the military, I think you're kind of in a box. Because even though when you get off, you put on your civilian clothes and you go out into the world or whatever, you still in an overall box. Like, for example, I lived on base. So, you know, I'm going to the grocery store on the base. On base. You know, whatever it is, I'm going on base. Most of the times I'm on base. And even around the base, most of the people are in the military. So you're in a box. And getting out, I'm realizing civilians ain't really... I don't even know, like, I don't know how to move with them. Like, they just different. Yeah. So that was definitely like went to school. I'm realizing, like, dang, these people are a little weird, you know, like, don't nobody really got looking out for each other. It's like every man for themselves out here, for real.
Yeah. Yeah, for real.
That was definitely a challenge for me.
You lose. I think that was a culture shock for me as well. The loss of camaraderie in the civilian world. Like, even on shore duty, like, so I did 9 years in the military, and I did, of course, my first 5 years on the 5.5 years on a boat, and then the other 3 and some change on shore duty. Even in shore duty, where everybody going home every day, we was still a family.
Right.
Like, my biggest support system right now to this day are people I met in the military. Like, you just don't get that at a civilian job. You just don't get that, you know what I'm saying, in the civilian world. So definitely missing that camaraderie.
Yeah.
But how do your roles as like a mother and a wife, and now as a veteran, because all of those things it seems like such a big portion of who you are, how did that like kind of mold you or help guide your decision to create a platform for women and young girls?
Right. Okay. So number one, I'm the oldest of 6 girls.
Oh, wow.
So that's already where
big mama for real.
Big mama. You see, when I said I had to run, you know what from.
Yes.
I was the mama. Like, I was a little mama growing up.
Yeah.
So that alone gives me the drive to want to, with women, empower them, support them, because as the oldest, you don't have that. Like, I
No.
didn't never have that big sister to talk to and to ask for advice. I didn't
Yeah.
have that. So that's really important for me. And it's a lot of people that don't have that.
Yeah.
So just starting there, and then with the military, the camaraderie. I learned what it looks like to have camaraderie, to have people that's supporting you, rooting you on. Now, it's not always like that in the military. But
No.
for the most part, overall, that's what it's about, right?
Yeah.
So that alone, so I understand what it is to have community. And when I got out,
Yes.
I realized at first I was just doing a podcast. But then I'm like, wait a minute. I need to build a community, because I
Yeah.
realized a lot of people out here in the civilian world, they don't have community.
No.
They don't know what community is. They don't know
Or
what
true community.
true community, right? And then joining communities and seeing just the disingenuousness of it. Like,
Mm-hmm.
it's just like a money thing for people. I don't want to lead that way.
Yeah.
Where you just doing it for the money. You doing
Yeah.
it because you want to be this big time, like you at the top, you the leader. No, like, that's not what it's about for me. It's about true support. What is true support? What is
What is
it to
true
really
support?
empower another woman?
Let's
How
talk
can
about it.
we get together to shorten this time? Turn the decades into days.
Yeah.
Something that could have took you this long. How can we get together to make it faster for each other? I feel like we need that
Yeah.
as women. And
Yeah.
women need to know how to support each other. It's so important. Like, so that's my goal, and I know it's gonna happen,
Yeah, most
because
definitely.
I just have that resiliency. Like, once I'm going all in on something, it's no turning back.
What motivated you to start your podcast? You started the podcast first. So what made you be like, all right, I got something to say?
Girl, can I tell you, I've been wanting to do a podcast
Really?
for a long time, right? I just didn't know, how people say, what's your niche or whatever it is. I
What's your
didn't really
target
know what's your
audience?
target audience. I didn't know what that was going to be for me, but I've been wanting
Mm-hmm.
to do it for a while. Like, even like last week or so, I was looking at some of my old notebooks, and I was just reading to my husband some of the goals I had. I have like a notebook page where I was writing down names. This is years ago, right? So it's
Oh,
so
come on,
crazy.
manifestation, because
Come
it's
on,
real.
right? Everything I say, come on. So yeah, that's really why I wanted to start a podcast, because I love to talk. And I love an intellectual conversation. I love
Yeah.
an empowering conversation. It's
Yeah.
something about it. Like, I just love it. So
Yes.
that's what really made me want to do the podcast. But when I got here and I reconnected with the old friend and I was talking to her about it, she was like, man, let's do it together. I was like, let's do it, because this is
Let's
what I'm
do
going to
it.
do.
Yeah.
So yeah.
How do you create an environment where women and young girls feel safe enough to share their stories and build like a genuine connection with each other? Because that's what you're doing with building this community.
Right. First, I think it's transparency.
Oh yeah, let's talk about
Like,
it.
I'm not gonna come in on some like, oh, okay, this is Chase of Perfection, and Jenel and Kaisha, they created this and they're here. No, like, I don't have nothing to, I can't say that I know everything
Right.
or I know how to overcome depression, because I'm overcoming.
Yeah.
I'm doing it now. And the name Chasing Perfection, it's like everybody think everything's supposed to be cookie cutter, perfect. We're chasing perfection. Maybe in the pursuit of perfection, maybe you can catch excellence, but
Yeah.
nothing will ever be perfect.
Yeah.
So for me,
Oh,
it's
that's a
just like,
bar.
how do I lead in a way that feels genuine? It's the transparency.
Yeah.
Like, when you can come to someone and meet them where they're at and not try to make it seem like you're trying to pull them up by the bootstraps.
Yeah.
Like, no, we helping each other. Let's lock arms. let's
Yeah.
let's take the steps together. That's kind of where I am with it, and how I want to lead into it. Just that genuineness, transparency, letting people know, like, hey, this is where I'm at. This is, my walk. Let's do it together. I get
Yeah.
it. I see
Most
you.
definitely.
I
I see
support you.
you. I support you.
Yeah,
That's
for
a
sure.
real thing. Um, Earlier you mentioned, the importance of women supporting women, and just how your platform and your community, like you just said, is going to be us lifting each other up. It's going to be us
Mhm.
supporting us, and fostering those connections where that can take place in a healthy space. What common challenges do you think women face when it comes to like networking? Or why do you feel like the current networking systems that are in place for women don't work?
I think it's intimidation.
What you think they're intimidated by?
I feel like a lot of times, and like I said, that's why I said I want to lead into it differently. When
Mm-hmm.
you see some, not all, because I see a lot of women that are genuine and,
Yeah.
in their work, but there's a lot where they lead with this kind of like, I already made it, like
Snobbish.
snobby,
Let me help you get to where I'm at, ho.
right. And if you can't do it the way I say, or you're not gonna listen, don't even talk to me. Like
Yeah.
some women feel like they genuinely can't approach another woman and say, "Hey, like I see you. How? How did you get here?" Because some people just don't have that approachable, they don't create that approachable space. Like I
Yeah.
definitely feel like a lot of women are intimidated by other women because you would look at a woman and you don't know, can you approach her?
Yeah.
Like that's what I think it is,
I
honestly.
feel like that's fair, but I think that's a two-edged sword because um one, we should be approachable, but two, we got to get out of our comfort zone
Hmm.
and not make excuses for not approaching. Because
Yeah.
there's been times, listen, I had this guest in mind. Shout out to Lavelle Dante and Kimmy's Creations. Shout out to Kimmy's Creations. Kimmy is the dopest, nicest, like down to earth person, like period. And and she ain't never gave Mean Girl through her content, through like her advocacy, through like anything. She's never gave Mean Girl, but I was intimidated to approach her to come on my show. I was intimidated to ask her to come on this podcast, and I was talking to my like she's like a big sister to me. I met her in the Navy. Her name's Lakita. I was like, girl, I want her on this podcast so bad, but I just don't think my platform big enough. I don't think
Hmm.
I'm where she's at, or I don't think I am at a place to be asking her to come tell her story, on my podcast. And she was like, girl, what's she gonna say? No, that's the worst that could happen.
Right.
Like, you up here, what are you afraid of? And I was like, you know what? That's right. And I ended up reaching out to her, and she agreed to come on the podcast. And, I got her story or whatever. And it was a really good episode. So, but it was me projecting onto her.
Yeah.
It was
I
a
love that.
projection, like, of my own
Yeah.
insecurities.
Yeah.
And
And
don't get
like
me
you
wrong,
said,
some
it
girls
is
can be like
definitely
mean
double.
girls. Yeah.
Yes, it is double. But I'm mostly speaking to the ones that are really that. Like they
Yeah.
really do feel like, hey, I'm here. Like you need to meet me at my level or not at all.
Yeah.
I'm speaking to that. I definitely what you said is right. We can't sometimes
Which
it's
is
us
unfair
feeling
because you started
unworthy.
where I was once upon
Right.
a time
Everything
too.
big was one small.
Ooh.
Like, come
Yeah.
on. Like, so I get that. And what you said is so true because even me, I feel that way too. I'm also doing a podcast. It's also, in the startup. I'm like wanting to reach out to people and I'm questioning myself, right?
Yeah.
Because you feel like, why would they want to come on here?
Right.
Or you feel like, what if they ask me for $10,000?
Yeah.
Based on, how many followers they have and what they believe they could bring to my
The
platform.
table. Yeah.
So I understand that. Like when I say I understand that, I really do. But it's getting out
Yeah.
of your own way. Like we are
It's
all
getting out of your
worthy.
own way.
We are
Yes.
all worthy.
So Janelle, you wear a couple different hats, Which is why I love interviewing Black female veterans, because we are so multi-talented and so multifaceted. But as a veteran, you know, a mom, a wife, you have your podcast, you're building this brand. You just, you know, kind of declared to the world not too long ago
Yeah.
that you are here to stay in this content creation
Oof.
world. How do you balance these roles without losing sight of your personal goals?
Mm. That's an interesting question, because a part of me feels like my personal, it all goes into this. Like, I feel like it's all just one for me.
Yeah.
I really do. And there is the aspect of, you know how they say, like, if you give your career your all, you can't give your family your all.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you give your kids your all. Like, you can't give each category or
100%.
100%. And that's very true, but it's 100%. So they're all together. It's just
Yeah.
like figuring out how to balance it. I don't
Mm-hmm.
know. I don't know. You know, I'm still figuring that out.
Yeah.
Right now, I have a lot of support with family now because we're back in Florida. Both me
Yeah.
and my husband are from here. He's
Okay.
still in the Marine Corps. He's a
Okay.
recruiter. So our family's from here. So we have a lot of support when it comes to our son now. So it'll make it real, real easy to balance that.
Yeah.
And I could focus on this,
Yes.
you know, and that's what I need to be able to really go all in on this. But it's still like, you don't ever feel like you know what you're doing, you know what you're trying to build, but you also still feel like, what are you doing?
What am I
What
doing
have you
here?
done? What
What
have
have
you
I done?
accomplished?
Where's the progress?
Right, right.
All the
That's what I'm
time.
battling with.
All the time. But I think it's a trick of the enemy.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a trick of the enemy, and I think it's the devil, because he wants you to think that your work is insignificant. He
Yeah.
wants you to think that you your idea isn't going to change anything or isn't worth anything. Like, that's what he wants you to think. And if you believe him or have a conversation with him long enough, he'll convince you.
Mm-hmm.
So whenever I have those thoughts, which are probably about 5,000 times a day, I just talk back to him. You know, like, that's not true. That's not true.
Cancel and delete.
If I have 3 people that like a post, if I have 2 people, if I have 11 people to listen to my episode, baby, guess what? It's 11 people that's rocking with me.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, yeah, that's kind of how I approach it. Like, I'm really big on faith. I really, really, really believe in God totally now. And I had to get to a point where sometimes I don't believe in myself. Like, just being 100. Like, sometimes I'm like, girl, you crazy. You out your mind. Imposter syndrome is dragging me by my pinky
Yeah.
toe. But I believe in God. But I believe in God, and I know what God can do. I've
Yeah.
seen him do crazy things
Yes.
for people. I've seen him do crazy things for me.
Yeah.
So even on the days where I have zero faith in myself, I take my eyes off of myself and I put them on God. Like, okay, even though I think I can't do it, I know what he's capable of doing. So I'm going to just rock with that fact,
Right.
because any other way I look, it's making me stumble. I'm sinking in this water. But if I just keep my eyes on him and know what he can do, then,
Yep.
you know what I'm saying? Then I can just be like, all right, you got it. Because you know I ain't got it, so you're going to have to have it.
Right.
And yeah, but what's your aspirations for this brand that you're building? Like, where do you see on a business side, and on a, you know, professional side, business, and on a personal side? Like, where do you see this brand growing? Where do you see, as far as like the future of your podcast and the community that you build, and what are some aspirations that you have around it?
One of my biggest aspirations for this is for it to have impact on the youth, the
Yeah.
younger girls. Like, I really want, one of my biggest things right now is trying to figure out, how can I impact the younger me?
Yeah.
What if what if there was a chasing perfection for me?
Yeah.
What would I have needed?
Yeah.
You know, what would I have needed to hear? Because I feel like a lot of times as a teenager, when I would hear people speak, I would look at them and be like, oh, well, she's 40, she's 50, she's 60, you know, like, I mean, yeah, she should be there by now. That's what I would
Right.
think. I didn't see enough of people in their 20s, you know, people in their 30s that's building.
Yeah.
Show me what it looks like to build. Show me what it looks like to become. You know, show
Yeah.
me what it looks like when you were finding yourself.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's what I really want to do with young girls. Like, I want to have workshops, you know, so girls can start young. I feel like once you get into your 20s and, you know, even your 30s, that's when you start really understanding what self-development is. But we
Agreed.
got to get this to the girls while they're young, like teenagers. Like I said, I'm the oldest. I'm only 25. So all my sisters are teenagers.
Yeah.
Or younger. You know, I got the youngest is 8. What can I do to impact younger girls, like to find themselves earlier, to understand that you could really have whatever you want, not just the cliche like, oh, you could do whatever you put your mind to. Yeah, we heard that 1,000 times growing up.
Yeah.
Like, that's not enough. We got to really show them what is self-development. How do you get there? How do you find yourself? You know, and it's okay to try different things until you find it.
Yeah.
That's what I see for it.
Fell again
And again and again, right? So I see that. I see myself doing, you know, workshops for young girls, impacting the community, doing a lot of community service. You know, business-wise, a lot of people have told me, like, doing a community, you want to charge a subscription, right? Maybe eventually, I don't know. But that's not my focus right now.
Yeah.
Like, it's about impact over income.
Yeah.
Like, that's where I'm at with that as far as on the business side. Podcast now, I see myself growing, like just growing, getting different people. You know, they say start here and then, you know, build on steps. So I don't know what that looks like yet, because I'm sure whatever I believe, God has something so much bigger than that.
Yeah.
You know, whatever I see for myself, he sees more. So I don't know yet. I'm still figuring it out, but I know that it's going to be big. I know it's going to be powerful. I know I'm going to have impact, because I just know. Like, I move with that knowingness, okay? Like what you said, you turn back to your faith. Listen, you celebrate yourself when you see them 11 views, 3 likes. Me too. Okay? Me too.
So, Jenel, tell the people where they can reach you at. Drop the podcast name. I know it's about to re-release soon, I believe, or is it already out?
About to re-release. So
okay, so we re-releasing soon. So tell the people where they can reach you at. What's your name of your podcast? All that.
Yeah. So y'all can reach me on Instagram primarily at Jenel Faye, JenelFaye, and the podcast chasingperfection.co on Instagram.
Amazing. And those will be linked in the show notes. This has been another amazing episode of the Six Figure Vet podcast, where we showcase success stories of Black and Brown veterans that have successfully unlaced the boots. Jenel, I just want to say thank you so much for coming on. We are pushing all prosperity your way and abundance, and we know you're going to take off. So make sure when you get big, you be like, yeah, my first interview was with the Six Figure Vet podcast.
Oh, yeah. You know, I was hyping myself up real big. I was already saying that. Come on now.
I know that's right. All right, the Six Figure Vet is.
Hey y'all, it's the Six Figure Vet here. If you or any other active duty service member or veteran that you know is suffering with suicidal ideation, substance use, or mental health disorders, please tell them to call 988. The number is 988. They're trained crisis responders waiting to take their calls. You don't have to suffer.